What's up guys, Mike from Rockville, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your CL14 in-wall and in-ceiling speaker wire. We have 3 different sizes available in this series, 100 feet, 250 feet, and 500 feet, but you can always cut down the appropriate length to whatever size you need. And the 250 and 500 feet models come in a neat box for easier storage and spooling to cut to size. On top of that, each size length comes with either 2 conductor wires or 4 conductor wires. The 4 conductor wires comes with 2 positive wires and 2 negative wires, which is great if you're running to speakers that are close to each other, like the front left and front right speakers in a home theater setup. This is also great for bi-amped speakers that have a different input for the highs and the lows. And 4 conductor wires is also great for alarm system installations. Now, all of these wires function exactly the same as standard 14 gauge wires, but these have a CL2 rating, which just means it's passed the National Electrical Code test for a higher rating of fire resistance. So they're not going to burn from a sudden surge of electricity up to 150 watts, and the cables themselves will not carry a flame. This is why we recommend them in installations in your home or office, in the walls and ceilings of your house, so you know they're always protected. So let's talk about setup. The first thing we want to consider is actually how much speaker wire we need going from our receiver to our speakers. Now this all depends on how we're running it and the placement of our speakers to the placement of our amplifier or receiver. And also at this point you can decide if you want to use speaker wire with 4 conductors or with 2. And as I said before, we always recommend using the 4 conductor speaker wire anytime you're running through your wall or ceiling and the speakers are going to be very close to each other. Now, accounting for the amount of speaker wire we need, when we're running to an in-wall speaker or a wall-mounted speaker, we also have to take into account what's behind the wall. You can always use a stud finder to see where the studs are in your wall or if there's any obstacles, so you can plan accordingly how much speaker wire you need to run through that area. It's also good to know where your studs are before you drill any holes in your wall. A general rule of thumb is you want to use 20 to 40% extra speaker wire to account for any obstacles or impassable areas you might face. So for example, if the distance from your receivers to your speaker terminals is 10 feet, we would recommend using 12 to 14 feet of speaker wire just to be safe. And then you can always take the extra slack and run it into a service loop for future use, accessibility, and neatness. Now when it comes time to drilling holes in your walls, you just want to make sure that those holes are big enough for the speaker wire to easily pass through. We also recommend drilling holes at the heights of other electrical boxes in your room that you're installing it. For example, floor outlets and light switches. You should also consider getting a universal pass-through single gang plate to hide all of the entry and exit points of your speaker wire. Now, if you're doing a ceiling speaker installation and you need to run your speaker wire into your ceiling, the same principles apply. You just want to check with what's behind your ceiling and make sure there's nothing in the way. Now, quick note, if you're installing your speaker wire through a drop ceiling, it is a little easier to do than a traditional sheetrock ceiling because the ceiling tiles are removable, you have more clearance and visibility of where your speaker wire is going, which on the other hand, in a sheetrock ceiling, it's a little harder to see where you're going, so we always recommend checking with a professional or a contractor before you do an install. So now that you have your speaker wire run through your wall and ceiling and it's right by the terminals of your speaker or by the receiver, it's time to strip the wire. Now to strip the wire, you can always use an X-Acto knife, a box cutter, a pair of scissors. Just remember whenever you're cutting to use gloves and always cut away from your body. Or you can use a traditional wire stripper. Stripping the wire with a wire stripper is very easy to do. You just match the gauge of the wire, which in this case is 14, to that number on the wire stripper. Now, a quick note, because this is CL2 rated speaker wire, it has an outer layer of white PVC, which you're going to want to cut with the blade on the inside of the wire stripper. You can also use a pair of scissors to do this. Once you have the wires nicely stripped, you can then make the connections into your speakers and your amplifier receiver. So on the amplifier and receiver, you're going to match the red wire with the positive terminals and the black wire with the negative terminals. And if you're using the 4 conductors, you're going to also match the green wire to the positive terminals and the white wire to the negative terminals. And do the same thing with the other end, matching it to the positive and negative by color. So remember, red to the positive, black to the negative, green to the positive, and white to the negative. And if you don't want to go directly from the raw wire into the speaker terminals or amplifier terminals, you can always put the raw wire into a banana connector and plug that into your speakers and amplifier if it so allows. And just like that, you've ran your speaker wire through the wall and into your speakers and your receiver. So hopefully this video showed you how easy it is to use the CL14 in-wall and in-ceiling speaker wire in your installation. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support tech team through phone or email. As always guys, I'm Mike from Rockville, and I'll see you in the next one.